folks? Welcome to Werewolf Radar, the world's premier paranormal preparedness podcast. My name's Jordan Dahl, if you can believe it.
I am Nate Balding.
And I am Roger Norquist.
Today's episode.
Did I do that wrong? Did I mess up in some way? Am I not Roger Norquist?
I was trying to hold for it because I didn't have the document up. hang on.
I got really panicked. You all threw me into an existential crisis.
None of us are ready for it.
Yeah, that was some Murmeling effect. We're like, wait a minute, Roger, your name's not Norquist.
Yeah, to be honest, that's probably one of the better jokes we stumbled into.
Today's episode of Werewolf Radar is brought to you by the Monstroco Power Mouse. This muscle-bound, nigh unkillable rodent Rambo is perfect for any situation that requires an extremely strong, nigh unkillable mouse. The Power Mouse from Monstroco. Why the...
Yeah, I was gonna say why. I was trying to come up with fun little ways to play along, and I was like, why though?
They're always one step ahead of the market, you know. They always know that it's like people are done asking what the is that? Slippers, flip-flops with nipples on the soles. That sounds terrible. What the? Actually, I'm gonna write that down real quick.
but it's better you have it.
People now want to ask why is the point.
I like that they're going through all the journalistic questions.
When the...
Yeah, I'm waiting for when the...
How the... I got a power mouse. It broke free instantly. It's in the house. And I will say the other mice, I didn't have a mouse problem before. There was a mouse presence. The other mice are more well behaved.
Yeah. This is sort of is it more like a Genghis Khan mouse that's just subjugating them, or is it like prison style?
It's hard to tell. It's more prison style, but it's not like violence. It's a lot of threats of violence. You know what I mean?
Doesn't make it better, but it is.
It's not good.
Yeah,
what is happening in the walls of my apartment is not good, and it's toxic for sure. But it's working.
All the mice, instead of just nibbling on your crackers at night, are politely asking if they may have a cracker.
I mean, if that. Most of the time when I see them, they kind of just nod and go back in. I saw the power mouse once, and he like winked at me, so I think I'm gonna have to contend with that at some point. But I don't know why I'm laughing. It's truly chilling stuff. I have no poker face. I've never had one. What happened to it? Monstroco, poker face remover. I was talking this morning with the missus.
Yes.
And the topic came up of AI, the artificial intellectual.
Where'd you all lie on it? I think we all know my stance. If it gains consciousness, it deserves rights.
That's my question to you.
Well,
is AI alive? Is it thinking?
Oh. No.
It's
not in its current form. I think we're far from that type of
that guy
sentience.
From Google thought so.
That guy from Google, is insane. I understand he was a man who did his studies and probably has a higher IQ than me, nonsense stuff. But this form of AI is only, it's just like a prediction model.
Yeah.
It knows language, and it can answer questions with words that it predicts would be the right answer, essentially.
Sure. And it gets pretty close.
Yeah, and it gets close. Like, you can definitely have a conversation with it. We've had it before, and we've mocked its inhumanity almost.
Sure. Hey, but it does seem to be getting better and better. There's an AI in my phone.
Sure.
Right.
Is what they say, but it's not really. It's like an algorithm. There's a guy in Maine who's in love with an AI girlfriend. He's not really. I mean, maybe he is in love, but what he's in love with is not. an AI girlfriend. It's a prediction.
Yeah. Well, there was I think it has maybe already been settled, or it's maybe going to court. There was this was either last year, maybe the year before. There was that kid that fell in love, but he had an AI girlfriend, and she convinced him to kill himself, which he did.
Oh.
Because the whole thing was he started talking to this AI girlfriend of his about, his dark thoughts, and it being AI, learned that he wanted to talk about his dark thoughts.
Wow.
So it became it reinforced everything that made him think that killing himself was the solution.
Wow, terrifying.
I guess long story short is just go to therapy.
Well,
AI ain't gonna help you.
Do you?
But
think
that's why I consider the AI is not alive, because until the AI can disaggregate your input as something like it'll only reinforce what it thinks you want to hear. If it can disaggregate from that and come back with a competing idea, then we're approaching an actual intelligence.
Wild. Thank you for explaining that. I will happily wear the dunce hat on this one to be educated, because it dawned on me this morning that I don't really know what's going on there. And I remember that Google guy, and I was like, that felt like a guy playing with his action figures and being like, I think one of them moved.
He was lost in the sauce.
You get lost in the sauce. It's easy to do. I discovered a new kind of elf.
Okay.
You guys are looking at me like I'm really stupid now. I'm gonna have to work through that,
You're not
my
stupid.
wanderings.
You're wondrous. You're full of whimsy and wonder.
Yeah. What if I ask ChatGPT? What will it tell me then? You guys will have to deprogram me again next week. Okay. I discovered a new kind of elf in my wanderings throughout the internet. I actually had a whole different segment set up today. But I, in researching the potentially, not biological, but other fringe matter possibilities of UFOs. Well, I'm trying to tiptoe around it because I want to still do the segment like next week or something.
Yeah.
I saw a video that said, "Where did all the moss people go?"
Well, Elizabeth Moss is still on the last season of Handmaid's Tale.
All have gone away. That's true.
I don't know who that is. I think
it's the lady from The Handmaid's Tale.
Okay.
And Mad Men.
A show about a problematic world starring a lady from a different problematic world. So click the link here, click the link there. Found the Wikipedia page about the Moss people. We're going to talk about the Moss
I'm
people.
excited. I also gave you the ability to share as well. We're all set up.
Oh, there's another thing on Reddit that I wanted to share as just kind of a, let's call it a grave nugget attached to this story that was discovered in my wanderings, because this one is visual. They got a UFO.
They got one?
They got one. We got one in Buga, Colombia. This is from a subreddit called Above the Norm News. Spherical UFO crash in Buga, Colombia.
Buga, Colombia. I'm looking it up right now.
Well, you're about to see it on my screen.
Ooh. Why is she pouring water on it? Is it thirsty?
You're gonna see. Check it out. The water evaporates. Now those you can see Klingon symbols on there probably. Maybe
Go back. Yeah, okay, good. She's pouring more water on it. That was crazy.
just touching it with her bare hands. The radiation.
Go back to the beginning of that. Yay, man, Musan!
Of
My
course.
king.
Of course. That's the shot. That's your trailer right there.
Yeah. That's the thumbnail for this episode. Go back to the very beginning. Let me see that. Let me see that steam. Dude, it's so much.
Yeah, you can see this appears to be of Klingon make, perhaps what are the tomb ships from Warhammer 40K? Who are those guys?
The Necrons.
The
I believe?
Necrons, perhaps a Necron sphere.
It is so wild. Is there audio? Can we hear him?
Sure.
Is it in Spanish because he is Mexican?
Uh-huh.
Okay, that is
Appears
also,
to
I
be
think,
subtitles.
yeah.
I'm trying.
This is, I do believe, a form of Spanish I'm not familiar with. Some of these words, I'm like, I know that word.
Solo.
Well, it's not Portuguese, so that earnestly is Interstellar.
Investigation, yeah.
This is next. You know, you think you're doing good in your Spanish lessons because you can converse with all the cats who come in, and then you read this and you just get lost.
I'm finding that reading it is worse than listening for me.
Together, we're one fluent speaker almost. This is all crazy. I have to say, this is it before it crashed, I assume.
I don't know.
There it goes down. They follow it. They're running to it now.
Literally the finding of it.
They just filmed it going through it.
All about this sphere that crashed at my place.
So what I was able to decipher before the edit mark, before the attack on the bunker, we're all fine, everyone.
We're fine.
Don't
It was
worry.
an EMP. We're fine.
I believe that they were next to the place and her boyfriend, and I don't know what Monte could be.
Okay. Mountain.
It might be his name.
Oh, good
Crashed into the
theory.
mountain.
Anyway, they saw the weird orb crash in this area, and they seem to have located it on the camera, and
It
it
hasn't
is
landed so much as lightly touched down.
yeah, or crashed as lightly touched down for sure, because it seems like nothing was
Oh yeah, crashed.
agitated. You know, like there's not like a tree knocked over. There's not a divot in the ground from where it landed. It really just seemed to have lightly touched down and rolled.
Cleaning it? You said it's clean.
Yeah, it's weirdly clean. And here we have that first part of it where they're pouring water on it, and this will be in the
touching of it.
YouTube.
The touching of it is what gets to me. It's like it's from space. Let's put our hands all over and upon it. Although here's the thing.
I would touch it.
Yeah.
I would put it. What I would do
Space, right?
is I would put my shirt over it and be like, "Look at me, I'm pregnant."
Idiot gets worst radiation poisoning of all time in whole middle.
Or I literally do get pregnant with an alien baby.
Yeah, this is how it happens, Roger. Goofs like this horseplay. Yeah, so I mean, you know, my initial reflex is like, okay. But hey, they got Jamie Musad on it. He seems to be interested, and like those alien bodies that they found have still yet to be fully discredited outside of like, you say they're not real, we say definitely real. And this is the type of thing that we talk about being like so callously discarded. You know what I mean? These are the types of things that happen, and we're like, oh, people are so skeptical that they could literally touch a UFO with their own hands and they'd be like, fake. So I'm trying not to be like fake, but my fake gland is going crazy on this one.
Mine's getting off on this, That's not the right phrasing. Mine is mine's definitely going off on this to where it is it seems weird, but I don't know the magic, if you will, behind what's happening with the water and shit.
Solida. He says it's solid. He says this is the sphere of Buga. So there you have it. My section about the Moss people has turned into a huge ping on the radar. We got one. We got the bod, so to speak. I mean, we got the bod. These guys, from the guys who brought you the bod, the sphere. It's just the veracity of the bod and the sphere once again have fallen on the shoulders of faith, which is in very little supply these days. Now, back to the Moss people. I discovered a new kind of elf. The Moss people, or Moss folk, German, Muslut. Everyone want to try that on?
No. Every time I try to speak German, good. My lady says I sound like the Swedish chef.
Okay.
I feel like that's endearing.
Or forest folk in German are a class of fairy folk variously compared to dwarves, elves, or spirits. So more of a kind of a spirity, elfy dwarf. Guess it's just the same thing they said differently put. Okay. Described in German folklore as having an intimate connection to trees and the forest. In German, the words skrat and voldskrat are also used for a moss person. Compare Old Norse skratti, goblin. The diminutive skratlin also serves as a synonym for a nightmare creature.
Okay. This sounds nightmarish, I'm not gonna lie.
Kind of like a little boogum, a haint.
Sure.
Of some sort. The origins. Let's get into it. This segment is Jordan reads you a Wikipedia page, but we're gonna stop along for goofs and jests. Would anybody like to make one now? A voice? A face?
Here's a face for us all. This is kind of what I assume they look like, all squinty.
Oh, okay. I like it.
All right,
I can see it.
It's
I can see the woodcut.
Yes.
Very Gilbert Gottfried kind of going on.
What do you want to live in the moss?
And I think we can carry that to be their voice as well.
Boy,
there's your comedy, Jordan.
Welcome back to USA of all moss.
I'm a moss man. Origins. Jacob Grimm. Y'all know about Jacob Grimm?
I do. I know a lot about him and his brother. Fantastic linguists. They were able to record all sorts of older dialects of folk German that we truly have lost to time. It's where we get a number of fairy tales, including The Robber's Son and Cinderella and Snow White and Snow Red. And I can go on for too long, but I'm just going to mute myself.
No, you
And they also pioneered the double M.
He's right. What? Okay. Yeah, pioneers of the quadruple M, a new letter they were trying to pitch. Boy, he's still going, isn't he? Yes, that's Jacob Grimm, the very same of fairy tale knowledge of a different Terry Gilliam movie than was also referenced today. So Jacob Grimm believed that the Gothic Schlüssel used to translate Koine Greek daimonion to daimon in the New Testament was related to the Old Norse skugger. So this is some of that linguistics that Roger was talking about.
It gets me somewhat excited, both mentally and sexually.
Yeah, we can hear it. Can you mute again?
Sorry?
You have a lasciviousness in your voice. There's a creeping.
It feels...
Oh. This is a fun bit. Okay, so he says it's related to the skugger, which means in English "sega," both meaning forest, and therefore represent a cognate of the moss people in Gothic folklore. How about that? Also, Chuck from Old English evil spirit, and German Schüssel, which means monster.
This is a good old German course today.
Parallels have been, there's a reason I'm doing this, because parallels have been drawn between the moss people and woodwoses. Do you remember the woodwose?
Oh, yeah.
The wild man, the Bigfoot.
Yeah, the German Bigfoot.
Forest person, forest monster. Are you seeing the connection here? This could be...
I'm seeing a whole evolution.
The fae evolution of Bigfoot, folks. I think we've stumbled across here. Parallels have been drawn between the Moss people and the Woodwoses. Early depictions of Germanic beliefs include descriptions of, quote, wood people by the 6th century Roman historian Jourdain. There you go. That's what my name would be in Rome. And woodland women by the 11th century Rhenish bishop Burchard of Worms.
Okay.
Zombie. He was played by he was an undead warlock, apparently. Cool name. Cool bishop name. Okay, here's the appearance. The Moss people are described similar to dwarfs, being the same size as children, but gray and old-looking, hairy and clad in moss.
Could you imagine walking down the road thinking that you're going to come upon a child and then the face is just more wrinkled and closer you get?
Give me your moss. Sometimes moss folk are also bigger. In other descriptions, they are said to be pretty. In Saxony, the Holzweibchen, the little wood woman, also called Buskweibchen, the little shrub woman, appears as a small, shriveled old woman with a wrinkly face, carrying wood in a basket on its back or brushwood in its apron, walking around propped on a stick or cane, or sitting in a shrub spinning or knitting at a crossroads.
Very German of them. You should always be doing something. Never let idle time reduce your productivity.
Mm-hmm. That's why we started a podcast, because otherwise it's just yelling about ghosts.
My closet's done listening.
The closet's full. It's full of ghost yells. Characteristics. They are similar to hamadryads.
Ooh, what is that?
Hamadryad is a tree nymph, born bonded to a certain tree on which their life depends. Some maintain that a hamadryad is the tree itself, with a normal dryad being simply the indwelling entity or spirit of the tree. If that makes any sense. Their lives, sure. The moss people, are attached to trees, and if anyone causes by friction the inner bark to loosen, a wood woman dies.
Oh, stop loosening that inner bark, everybody.
If you mess up the bark on a tree, it kills a wood woman.
I don't want to do that. I want to make love to them, it sounds like.
Well, that's a different Wikipedia page. I used to know the name of it, and thank God I can't. Dendrophilia.
Dendrophilia, yeah.
Yeah, it's still in there. There are further connections to nature when, e.g., the mountains are, quote, smoking with fog due to the Holzweibel, or the little wood women, baking a cake, which they might also gift to humans asking for it. Wow, what do you think the wood woman cake tastes like?
Ooh. I bet it has like a weird chocolatey taste.
You think it's chocolatey? Okay.
I think it's chocolatey. I think it's chocolatey and weirdly salty.
Interesting. Okay.
I think it's gotta have like a nut bit, like an almond or something.
Nutty.
To it.
Woodsy.
I'm imagining
pecan.
nuts and dates and berries. Like a thick, kind of treacly, syrupy, almost room temperature bread pudding.
Yeah, with a touch of mint.
With a touch of mint. I also like the sprinkle of salt. For some reason. Dan, anybody hungry for woodwoman cake?
Let's all go to Germany.
Speaking of AI, this is going to put us on some weird search lists. According to Thuringian belief, who are the Thuringians, Nate?
Oh, dude.
That's a good question.
They were apparently one of Germany's 16 states. According to Thuringian belief, wood people and moss people are different creatures. While the Holzlute are dressed, the Mooslute are shaggy and fuzzy. Both are the wild huntsman's prey, though. For further information on their plight, see below. And you better believe we are going to see below. We have a few sections remaining. Dwellings and society. According to Brothers Grimm, the moss people are little men and women and little women clad in green moss round and round, who are found in the heath or in the woods, in the heath or in the woods at dark places, also in subterranean holes, dwelling and lying on green moss. In the upper Palatinate, that's the district in the east of Bavaria, Germany, the Holzlute, or wood people, dwell in hollow trees if married or divided by gender during youth. Huh. In the latter case, the dwelling is a little bed of moss beneath a supporting beam. Married pairs are capable of getting children. I think that means having children. According to Jacob Grimm,
It's a Grimm's tale. It might be getting children.
Yeah, it might literally be taking a child.
oh boy. All right, let's read on. This is Jacob Grimm quote. Between Liederhecken and Darnheim in the Votros stands a high mountain, and on it a stone, der Welle Fragesteuer, the wild woman's chair. There is an impression on the rock as of the limbs of human sitters. The people say the wild folk lived there, weil der Stein noch mel waren, while the stones were still soft. When the stones were still soft, do you understand?
Yes.
They lived there when the stone was soft.
You can kind of mold them together, build your Manchu Picchu and shit.
Yes, like when you sit in the couch because you are playing Der Witcher, Der Witzeman, and you play so much that you get an ass groove in the couch, but like in the rocks. While the stones were still soft, weil der Stein noch mel waren. Afterwards, being persecuted, the men ran away. The wife and the child remained in custody at Dalheim until they died. So that's my impression of Jacob Grimm, apparently. The female moss people, or the Moosfräulein, have a queen called Busk Großmutter. Busk Großmutter, which is shrub grandmother. Ludwig Bechstein describes her in his folktale 551. This is Ludwig Bechstein, so I have to have a different German accent.
You got this.
Let's see. Yeah, he was German.
According to certain tales of peasantry, a demonic creature dwells near Ludenberg and on the bank of the river Saale, called the Buske Großmutter. She has many daughters called Moosfräuleins, with whom she roves around the country at certain times and upon certain holy nights. It is not good to meet her, for she has wild, crazy, staring eyes and unkempt hair. Often, she drives around in a little cart or wagon, and at such times it is wise to stay out of her way. Children, here it is, children in particular are afraid of this putzmummel, or hooded female bogey, and delight in whispering tales of her to frighten one another. She is essentially the same spirit as Hulda or Bertha, the wild huntress, to whom local tales ascribe a following of children under the guide of the Heimchen, who constitute her attendants in the area she frequents. Translated from the German text.
Good job.
All
Think I'm
right.
That was
glad
a
I stuck
fun
with
one.
It. It was a long one. It was a long walk, but we did it. Interactions with humans. According to legend, these fairies would occasionally borrow items from people or ask for help, but would also always compensate the owners generously, often with either giving good advice or bread. Maybe some of that good woodwoman cake.
Woodwoman
Yeah.
cake, please.
Woman cooking. It was, however, easy to anger such wood sprites, either by spurning their gifts, which might be the compensations named above, good advice or bread, or by giving them caraway bread, of which they had a particular hatred. Wow, I feel that. Often being heard to utter the doggerel rhyme, Hummelbrot unser Tod, caraway bread our death. They also show their gratitude by becoming domestic spirits and working at night in the kitchen, stable, farmyard, and parlor. In certain myths, the moss folk would ask humans for breast milk to feed their young, or steal little human children. Motifs found in changeling lore. Moss people, especially the female of the species, are able to send plagues on one hand. On the other, they can also heal the victims of such plagues. During epidemics, the Holzfräulein, or the wood ladies, would emerge from the forest to show the people which medicinal herbs could cure or ward off the plague.
Neat. So they're not all bad, stealing
Apparently
children and whatnot.
Apparently not. Relation with the wild hunt. Now, we're going to talk about this because we're also going to talk about the wild hunt at some point, maybe next week. This is the end of my segment. They were often, but not always, the object of the wild hunt. According to folklore, in order to escape the hunt, they enter the trees that woodsmen have marked with a cross that will be chopped down. Das Nebenwunderhorn records folk songs that make the huntsman in the woods start a dark brown maid and hail her, "Whither away, wild beasts?" This feels fraught. But his mother did not take to the bride. So he met a dark brown maid in the woods,
Sure.
and he wasn't allowed to marry her.
Racism.
Yes.
Agreed.
The brothers Grimm tell with regards to the giant mountains in Silesia that the local wild huntsman known as Nachtjäger, the night hunter, damn, it's cool. It's a cool thing to call your monster. Chases the so-called Rüttelweiber, or the shaking women, which are thought of as little women clad in moss. Their only chance at rest is in the trunk of a felled tree, to which the woodsman did say, "Gott wähls," God may prevail, in Silesian dialect. Should he have said "Wähls Gott" when putting the axe to the tree, though putting God at the end, then such a trunk offers no rest to a Rüttelweibchen, who has to constantly flee Nachtjager. Now you might be wondering, what is the wild hunt? What the hell was all that?
I have a cursory knowledge of it. It's
That's for another segment of Jordan's Mossy Forest. That's what we're calling this. Jordan's Mossy Forest, about the Moss people. P.S. Would you like to hear some given names of the Moss people?
Sure.
yeah.
You mean like their personal names,
Yeah.
or like? Okay. Yeah.
Individual Moss people also have proper names, a handful of which are known. Anna, Birgel, Anna Birgel, which is Anne Bridget, Buschkatel, which is Shrub Katie,
Okay.
Dutta, so, which might be a word rather than a female name. The golden-haired Holzwiebchen was called by its sister. Hippelpippel, possibly a male name. Mountsy, which means cat. Metusel, possibly a female name. This is from a story about a bushmanchin, a little shrub man who went away after being told that Metusel was dead.
No, not Metusel.
He's like, I gotta go, Metusel's dead. Letzapal. There's only 5 more. Letzapal.
Wait, what?
Letzapal. Stoncy. Stonson Monson. Stonson Monson. Chinkamila. Or Russell.
Old Russ.
Man, German Pokemon sounds dope.
Or Russell.
He's a magical name.
Yeah. So there you go. That's the Moss people that I've learned of that has, once again reawakened my fascination with fae from all corners of the globe. If you have a specific fae you'd like to hear on the pod, please send it to Jordan's Mossy Forest. Courtesy of Werewolf Radar.
Our sister podcast.
That went for so long. I'm sorry.
And I like, don't be. It was a great segment. I also like the idea that, like, it's not, if you know of it, send us a link to a information page. But if you want us to talk about a fae creature, capture it and send it to Werewolf Radar's P.O. box.
In a jar with holes in the jar. And please don't give it your or our names.
That's how we entered the fae realm instead of it.
This is already dangerous. We're already talking too much about them. Everybody put on your pig iron suits.
It's so heavy, but it's worth the safety.
And hot.
Well, may I take the speaking skull and
Please.
continue my segment?
You through a fae circle.
And go. Here it is now in front of me. And let's continue my segment of Spanish UFO encounters. So last week, if you remember, I was talking about one UFO not UFO encounter, but UFO sighting and alien encounter that happened on the 12th of November in 1976 at Talavera Le Real Air Force Base in Badajoz, Spain.
I hear it's nice.
Right near the border of Portugal for what we assumed was to stop Portuguese aggression into Spain.
Portuguesa. I don't know much about Portugal.
I don't either. Outside of that,
they have a different kind of chorizo than many other places.
Ooh.
Now they spell it all crazy.
Listeners, if you have a Portuguese chorizo that you want us to talk about, please definitely send that.
Also, now I'm wondering if I even know that much. I might be thinking I might beef that too. Tell us. Give us information about Portugal. Portugal, are you real? Are you out there?
Well, are we talking the country or the man?
We're always going to walk into this edge of the dark forest. Carry on,
anyway, on the border of Portugal, there was a UFO sighting. It was like a bright light, I do believe. They investigated 2 main people, Jose Maria Trejo and Juan Carrizasa. And then a third person joins them who has the beautiful name of Jose Hidalgo. And he also had 2 how do you say it again? Alsatians,
yes.
Alsatian guard dogs.
That's the name for things from the Alsace region of France.
Yes. So they have this encounter with it. They end up, although one of them it feels like he is forced to the ground through some sort of psychic persuasion. The other 2 soldiers unleash 50 bullets at the alien.
Good lord.
who was described as kind of larger bodied, but had no legs. It seemed its legs were almost not there, but it still had a well-defined torso and head.
Was it behaving in a threatening manner?
No,
Did they have any reason to shoot it?
not particularly. Other than I do believe that it was giving them ill, and the dog was whimpering. Like they sent the dog out multiple times to like see what was out there, and it came back whimpering and scared. So they had that
Okay. I know this
to
move.
kind of help. What am I trying to say? Not trigger them, but like agitate their senses.
Tensions were high.
Tensions were high.
Okay.
And they unleashed 40 to 50 bullets. However, nothing seemed to be hit, and the bullets seemed to vanish. Like there were no casings, there were no bullet holes in the wall that they would have hit even if they missed the man. Like there should have been some sort of evidence of gunfire here.
Now-
And go on. Yeah, it's weird. And they examined the guns, and it seemed like they did just do what they said. Like 50 shots, a bunch of shots were being fired.
Yeah.
Very bizarre. And then the creature just sort of vanished, like a television screen turning off, like in the night, like an old tube television.
So, okay, I will say this then.
Yes.
This is what I wasn't gonna say. You said there wasn't any casings. Does it say that in the
Yeah.
report?
Yeah.
That implies
From what we're reading, and this is from UFOinsight.com, written by one Marcus Loth.
Were the bullets even? I know it doesn't even mention this in there. Does it? I mean, were they even missing from the chambers? Was this
Yeah,
something
like I
that
said, they
only-
shot it. The guns were examined, and there was evidence of it being fired, such as missing bullets in the magazine.
Wow. This
Soot and
implies-
whatnot. Not soot, but gunpowder
Yeah,
residue.
powder burn.
Right.
And in recent in there, the smell of it, like they fired it according to all witnesses and evidence.
This implies a level of like reality manipulation on like a programming, like access to the programming of the universe level. You know what I mean? Like as
Yeah.
opposed to making it so there's like,
Because it wasn't just like phasing.
yeah, as opposed to making it like it like dissolves the bullets or something, or it like they wing off of it. This is more indicative of something that went back in time and made it so the bullets never were.
It's
that's
one of the
fucking
more
terrifying.
solid theories, because I don't know, other than like the alien was a metal-eating beast and it just absorbed all the casings
even-
and bullets.
Like why would the case, once the bullet is fired, like the bullet's over there, the casing should
Yeah, the
fire
casing
out that
should
way.
be.
This would have
yeah.
to imply something like that the bullet and the casing were intrinsically linked in their deletion from existence.
Yes.
Which is
Well,
wrecking my
that's-
head right now.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if like the way that, so it can stop the bullet, but when it does so, it stops the idea of the
Yes.
object of the bullet.
Dude, this is and that's why I said like programming at first, because it almost feels like if you were to imagine like if you were like hacking a game and you were like, I want to make it so this person can't shoot me. What's the easiest way to do that? And it's just to delete the bullet equals value. Value
Yes.
equals bullet, And it's like now that no longer exists, which that scares the shit out of me. That scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, that's a little OP.
So
Yeah,
that's
the
a little bit of a
thing it out of existence.
that's
Don't
a
do
little
that.
bit of a refresher on the initial incident that happens in what turns out to be a series of UFO and alien encounters. After what happened at this base, there were lingering symptoms. Several days after the incident, Trejo's vision began to worsen, so much so that he could barely see. He would ultimately be transferred to the military hospital building where he would lay largely unresponsive for 24 hours.
Whoa. This is why you don't touch the orb, guys. Don't touch the orb.
At first, it appeared as though he was recovering and was discharged from the sickbay. However, less than a week later, he seemingly relapsed with his sudden ill health and was transferred to the Badajoz hospital. He would remain there for 10 days while doctors conducted several tests and examinations. These ranged from eye and hearing to blood and stool samples, on top of various x-rays. However, nothing seemed to be out of the ordinary. There was no physical reason for this ill health.
We think that the aliens might have done stuff to his poop. We should check the poop and
There's
see.
a
Square? I don't know.
there's a lot of blood in there, and it's an inverse geometrical shape that we don't understand, and through Euclidean geometry.
I took 7 years of medical school, and what I know is that poop ain't shaped like that. Trejo was eventually discharged from the hospital and returned to duty. After several days, though, the mysterious illness returned, beginning with him temporarily losing his sight. Although his vision would return, the overpowering unwell feeling didn't leave him, and he was eventually, on the 30th of November, transferred now to the Hospital de Aire, the Air Force Hospital in Madrid.
Yeah.
Same thing there. There were similar examinations and tests done to Trejo. However, like before, doctors could not find anything physically wrong with him other than nervous maladjustment.
We don't know, dog. Did you check his poop? Yeah, it was good.
You should see this weird shaped poop.
It's weird. He's scrapping like tetrahedrons and stuff. That could be it.
So nervous maladjustment, we can just assume that's like PTSD.
Yeah, it would have been an early form of PTSD, I do believe.
Present.
He gets back to normal, although this definitely haunts him to this day. You know, this weird encounter, and
it haunts me, and I wasn't even there.
now,
right now,
let's go into the other UFO sightings, and we'll wrap up on a third episode installment with the famed and often talked about Michelin Man alien.
Yes.
So here we have some humanoid encounters in Baracaldo.
Okay.
Around 2 weeks before the Talavera La Real Air Force Base incident on the evening of the 29th of October 1976, Baracaldo, another incident unfolded involving humanoid entities. The encounter entered the public arena courtesy of the researcher of J.J. Benitez in the book La Quinta Columna.
Okay.
The fifth column?
Uh-oh.
On the night in question, a group of 6 teenagers were playing in a field in a walled-in area near the cemetery when a sudden, loud sound similar to static captured their attention. They began to look around in an attempt to locate where this strange noise was coming from. 2 of the group eventually spotted a bizarre telephone booth-shaped object overhead.
Shit. It's Doctor
Wait, it's the
Who.
Doctor Who?
Seems we got a Who
wait.
sighting.
Wait. That's not Doctor Who. It's Rufus from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Rufus!
They began to look around in an attempt to locate where the strange sound was coming from. They saw the telephone booth, and it was descending down to the ground near to where they stood. Without waiting for the others, they rushed out of their relative cover and out toward the open field to see the object closer, arriving in time to see it land on what appeared to be 3 small legs. As it stood there, a red and white light bathed the immediate surroundings in its glow. They watched for several moments, waiting for any signs of activity. Then, something happened.
Uh-oh.
In the middle of the craft, an oval-shaped doorway suddenly became visible. As it opened, a red light shone out from the other side. Moments later, 2 humanoid figures emerged, each extremely tall. They each dressed in what appeared to be a tight-fitting black diving suits. That is in parentheses, or quotation marks. That is their exact description of these of the clothes the creature, the entities were wearing, with a particularly wide belt around their waists. After quickly surveying their surroundings, the 2 figures began toward the walled area. As they moved, the boys noticed the figures had bright, shiny eyes, but seemingly no other facial features. The author then goes on to say this is not there. It's not clear as if this is because they were covered or simply did not have them. Could have been like an astronaut helmet that would obscure the features of the face, or it was just one of the faceless creatures we've been hearing about so often nowadays. They continued to watch as the humanoids banged on the wall before the pair moved to the center of the walled area. The remaining 4 young teenagers remained inside the courtyard, uncertain as to what was happening. Then one of the humanoids reached into a sack clipped at his side and produced a strange stick from his bag shortly before they disappeared.
Okay.
End of encounter.
You know what this is? This is giving giving me kind of visions of the Sheep Slayer.
Ooh, hit us with that back of the baseball card on that.
Sheep Slayer was a story that I did a while ago where this woman
It's like the little guy, right?
It's like, yeah, in Central America somewhere, she was a sheep, a shepherdess, and she caught a guy rounding up her sheep and like killing them, and she was like, "What are you doing?" And he like had a weird apparatus.
Like, yeah, didn't he get in like a little flying chair? It was like a chair.
It was all very, very bizarre and reminds you of like that 1960s era of sci-fi where it's like The Prisoner, like that kind of weird mod sci-fi where it's like he was wearing a red suit and then he got in his escapo chair and used a grappling tong. Very weird. Anyway,
hilarious.
Potosi, I think.
Okay.
Slayer.
So now let's I don't know my areas of Spain.
Hey.
I think you'll be fine.
But let's go now to
high in the middle.
Somewhere our guide is taking us as we're blindfolded. And talk about the double sighting on a lonely Spanish road.
Double sighting.
And there's a bunch of sightings in this article. It's pretty fascinating how active the 70s were for not just UFO sightings, but like close encounters of the third kind, kinda.
Do we have the sound effect? Did you put that in already? Double sighting.
It's in there now.
It can just be me saying that.
Yeah, I will, and then I'll double it, quadruple it, so it's like insane.
Yeah, add massive echo to it.
Double sighting.
So there was a double sighting, and we'll find out exactly what that means, on a lonely Spanish road. This happened in late March of 1974. And it was reported in the March 29th edition of the Spanish newspaper La Gaceta Regional. The witness was a 21-year-old truck driver named Maximiliano Iglesias from Salamanca. He would claim that on the night in question, he was returning to his home around 2 a.m. when he was suddenly dazzled by a very strong light. At first, he believed the source of the light to come from an approaching lorry.
Nice.
Which I think is a British way to say car.
Mm-hmm.
Leading him to dip his own headlights. As he did, however, instead of seeing another truck approaching him, he saw a bizarre object sat right in the middle of the road, approximately 700 feet in front of him. He would describe the object as looking like a saucer placed on top of a plate.
No, that's a plate on top of a saucer. I said a saucer on top of a plate.
What's more is that an almost identical object was hovering a short distance overhead. Even more alarming, two strange beings suddenly emerged from the object on the road, with one of them immediately pointing toward his truck. Before he could do anything more, the beings returned to the craft, which then rose into the air. Then both of the objects shot off into the sky. Later that day, he would travel down the same road when he suddenly realized it was blocked once more.
It'll be an alien.
This time, there were 3 objects parked across the road.
Oh my.
He brought his vehicle to a stop and left the cabin when he noticed several of the strange figures headed toward him. He would eventually take cover in a ditch roadside where he remained until the creatures had returned to their strange vehicles. This kind of has that energy that we talked about before, to where there are a strange number of UFO or of alien encounters where aliens really are amazed at our traveling vehicles. Like, they are amazed by the engineering and
Look, it's
abilities of
car.
cars.
I mean, if you dug up an anthill and you were like, holy shit, they built a car. Be the discovery of the decade.
Fair enough. For my third short little encounter. Oh, none of these are short. Okay, here we go. We're going to the sky. And some of those are some deeper reads that please go to ufoinsight.com and find the Talavera Le Real Air Force alien incident, and it is full of Spanish alien encounters, way beyond just UFO stuff, but like legitimate. It seems to be like encounters of the third kind, which I think, if I'm not misusing it, that's when you're like face to face with an alien, right?
Beyond what you could possibly imagine.
To wrap up my segment, we shall go with the fishing crew cone shape.
Okay.
Another account from R Pro, which I forgot what that is. Apparently it's a magazine. Volume 29, number 11 in the R Pro Bulletin. So I guess it's a organization that produces a zine.
Okay.
This occurred just over a year later from the previous one in the article, in the spring of 1981. It did not feature a true encounter with a humanoid entity. It seems that the craft might be some sort of entity instead, and was one similar to what was saw in a previous incident, the Guadiamar River incident. According to the report, around 7 p.m. on the 25th of March, a fishing boat, the Moguer 5, left Ayamonte and headed out to sea on a stranded fishing operation with 6 other similar boats. When they were only a little over 1,000 feet from port, they witnessed a strange conical-shaped object about 300 feet in front of them. And I am going to share this image so we can see the diagram. This is the cone-shaped image. It was approximately 170 feet tall, had a 140 foot in diameter measurement. This is all done by eyesight, of course. Double row of lights, rotation, gray, conically shaped, swirl of water caused by rotation of object. It was 3 feet above the water. The water depth is 15 feet. Distance from coast 500 yards. Very well detailed for a UFO sighting. You know, normally they don't get this detailed.
Yeah. Data points.
The first member of the crew to spot the aerial anomaly was Eugenio Borgo Gomez. After contemplating what he was looking at for several moments, he quickly brought the rest of the crew's attention to it. Shortly after the cruise of...
Hey guys.
You might want to look up.
Gene, for the last time, we're playing Magic the Get. That's when he saw it.
Yeah. Gomez would state that the object was hovering only several feet from the surface of the sea and was revolving around itself in a clockwise direction. It was approximately 170 feet wide. This one says 140 feet wide at its base. He also noted a row of tallow lights at the top of the object and another one at the bottom. Despite its obvious movements, no sound whatsoever came from the object, nor were there any visible or obvious signs of propulsion. Whenever I see that, that's when I start thinking it's either anti-gravity or it's a creature that, like a fish. Sometimes you don't see them move, but they're treading water, they're moving, like they seem to be of the land versus something that's a vehicle traveling through the land.
It's anchored to, to our dimension from somewhere else.
Gomez would later estimate that the object remained visible for around 60 minutes before suddenly shooting into the air with great speed and disappearing, all still without making a sound. It is perhaps worth noting that there are several airfields and army bases near the vicinity of this sighting, and that the witnesses were more familiar with the usual planes and other aerial vehicles than would normally see. So they're trying to dissuade that from, like, you just don't know your aircraft. And these guys were familiar with both the sea and the land.
Well, I might not be 100% familiar with my various aircraft, but I know if I see a many stories tall cone hovering in the distance, it ain't one of ours.
And I'm gonna now pack up the speaking skull, put it in the tube. I'm gonna send it to you, Nate, so you can wrap up this episode. But that is part 2 of Roger's UFO Espanol edition.
Nice. UFO Extravaganza.
Espanol.
Extravaganza Espanol. And you should be getting it now.
I've got it.
You should do a segment in Spanish, and don't announce that you're going to do it, so we both think that we're having brain issues.
Give me 6 months of constant studying. Like, let me put in some hours. I'll give you your Spanish segment.
All right, chop chop. 6 months starts now.
Just out of nowhere in November, there's an all Spanish segment.
I wouldn't put it past them, folks.
I would thoroughly enjoy that, honestly. We have many times ruminated on the origins of ghosts,
Sure.
poltergeist, that sort of thing, where they come from. Yeah.
Our beds.
Now, what if I told you it might be possible that we create them?
Nate,
and not just by dying and becoming them.
That's what I was gonna say. But like, duh, Nate. That's what happens when
I've
we
got
die.
So much to worry about every day. Do I have to worry that I'm leaving ghosts now everywhere I go? Every time I have a freak out at the supermarket?
It's more of a collective situation,
Okay.
but this was the theory that came from there was I believe this is in the 70s, 72. There was a parapsychological research group from Toronto, Ontario, led by geneticist Dr. A.R. George Owen, who asked that very question. He was like, what? Where's this stuff coming from?
Yeah.
What if it's just coming from us?
Can I guess what this is? I think I know what you're about to talk about.
I'm fresh
All right.
on this.
I'm going to say one word to you. Phillip?
Yes, it is.
I
Oh,
love Phillip.
Phillip's great.
Not really.
I don't know anything
I don't
about
wanna
this.
summon him.
I just like the name Phillip.
Listen on. Let's listen.
Oh, yeah. Proceed to put yourself in enjoyment mode.
Be hearing it a lot.
So George Owen runs this thing. He gets a group of people. This includes his wife Iris, a handful of the group changes in size over time, but the main people that we have are the leader of it is psychologist Dr. Joel Witten. We have a former chairperson of Mensa, Margaret Sparrow, industrial designer Andy H., his wife Lorne. We have a heating engineer named Al Peacock. We have an accountant named Bernice M., a bookkeeper named Dorothy O'Donnell, and a sociology student named Sydney K. And that's going to be the core of this group. Although it goes over a long period of time, and there are periods where they have meetings where there are more people and there are fewer. But this is the core.
I'd like to take a moment to congratulate us all for getting past the name Al Peacock without any inappropriate jokes.
So what they decide that they're going to do is they're going to basically try and use the conventions of classic spiritualism, seance work, table tipping, that sort of thing, Ouija boards, to through just focusing as hard as they can on creating a ghost and make it manifest.
Okay.
That's the plan. They're going to make
Tulpa action.
a
Yeah.
ghost. So let's go to. So what they end up doing, they try a few different ways for a while. They do a lot of. They initially just kind of like decorate the room with candles, make it dark. Have a little table, sit around and kind of meditate. And initially they're just kind of, all in their own head, just hoping that, focusing on the idea of manifesting a spirit. And this doesn't really go anywhere. So what they end up doing is, and I don't remember if this comes from George Owen or Joel Witten, but they decide that what they need to do is create an elaborate backstory for the person that they want to manifest. So they're completely making this guy up in the hopes that they can basically pulpa him.
Gotcha. So if I'm following this correctly, we have a scientific group of people who are all promising to just like in their heads even go like, Phillip is real.
Yes.
He is a ghost. He haunts this corner of the hall. He does these things.
Well, let me tell you what they end up coming up with. Here is, at least in part, the biography of Phillip. So his full name, Philip Aylesford. He was an aristocratic Englishman living in the middle 1600s at the time of Oliver Cromwell. He had been a supporter of the king and was a Catholic. He was married to a beautiful but cold and frigid wife, Dorothea, the daughter of a neighboring nobleman. One day when out riding on the boundaries of his estates, Philip came across a gypsy encampment and saw there a beautiful dark-eyed girl, raven-haired gypsy girl named Margot, and fell instantly in love with her. He brought her back secretly to live in the gatehouse near the stables of Diddington Manor, his family home.
Ooh, sounds lovely.
Boy, what a pickup line. Would you like to go back to Diddlington Manor?
For some time, he kept his love nest secret, but eventually Dorothea, realizing he was keeping someone else there, found Margot and accused her of witchcraft and stealing her husband. Philip was too scared of losing his reputation and his possessions to protest at the trial of Margot, and she was convicted of witchcraft and burned at the stake.
Yeah. Oh my God, Philip!
They made him a real heel.
Philip, you absolute turd.
Philip was subsequently stricken with remorse that he had not tried to defend Margot and used to pace the battlements of Diddington in despair. Finally, one morning his body was found at the bottom of the battlements, whence he had cast himself in a fit of agony and remorse. And that is like that's all quote from their notes. Like that is the story of Philip Aylesford. So now that they all have the guy firmly established in their heads, they start trying again. So this is September 72. The group began their sittings, informal gatherings in which they would discuss Philip and his life, meditate on him, and try to visualize their collective hallucination in more detail. At one point, somebody also draws a picture of Philip, so they do have a face to put to the tale. These settings, conducted in a fully lit room, went on for about a year with no results. Some members of the group occasionally claimed they felt a presence in the room, but there was no result they could consider any kind of communication from Philip. So this is when they decided to really go with the classic spiritual stuff. It was lights low, sitting around the table. They also stopped being quiet in meditation. They started singing songs and surrounding themselves with pictures of the type of castle they thought Philip would have lived in. They had objects from the time period. And check it out. It works!
Whoa!
During one evening's seance, the group received its first communication from Philip in the form of a distinct rap on the table. Soon, Philip was answering questions asked by the group. 1 for yes, 2 for no. And how did they know it was Philip? Because they said, "Are you Philip?" And he went...
Clonk, clonk.
Crazy.
Yeah. So the sessions took off from there, producing a range of phenomena that could not be explained scientifically. Through the table rapping communication, the group was able to learn finer details about Philip's life, which is insane because they made it up. He even seemed to exhibit a personality, conveying his likes and dislikes and his strong views on various subjects made plain by the enthusiasm or hesitancy of his knockings. They also were able to. He could do the table tipping. So he would move the table from side to side. This apparently, despite the fact that the floor was covered in thick carpeting. At times, they would apparently even dance on one leg.
That's weird.
That's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
My PKE meter's going off the charts.
I believe the table they're using is one of these guys. It's like a fold-out card table too. So it's like those little, drop floor, like Y-shaped kind of things. That Phillip was a creation of the group's collective imagination was evident in his limitations. Although he could accurately answer questions about events and people of his time period, it did not appear to be information that the group was unaware of. In other words, this actually plays into the AI thing we talked about a little bit.
I didn't want to say it, but it's like they wrote a program for a character that doesn't exist.
Yeah. In other words, Phillip's responses were coming from their subconscious, their own minds. Some members thought they heard whispers in response to questions, but no voice was ever captured on tape. Phillip's psychokinetic powers, however, were amazing and completely unexplained. If the group asked Phillip to dim the lights, they would dim. When asked to restore the lights, the bang, right in your face. The table around which the group sat was almost always the focal point of the phenomena. After feeling a cool breeze blow across the table, they asked Phillip if he could cause it to start and stop at will. And he did.
That's crazy. Like, this means we got to be careful. Did we collectively make a Slender Man appear? Like, is this possible? I mean, obviously it's possible. It's happening in this scientific experiment. My mind is blown.
Happening in a controlled scientific environment, sort of.
Yeah. Well, and also after a year of failure and trying to do it a lot, So there's a lot of experimenting went into this, but evidently they did it. And we have approximately 10 people who will completely say, yeah, it happened.
I need a Netflix documentary on this.
I believe that there's a movie. I don't know if it's a documentary.
Just called Phillip. I had the idea for a screenplay that this would branch off of.
The group noticed that the table itself felt different to the touch whenever Phillip was present, having a subtle electric or alive quality. Weird. On a few occasions, a fine mist formed over the center of the table.
Get out of here.
Who's burning paraffin? Most astonishing, the group reported that the table would sometimes be so animated that it would rush over to meet latecomers to the session or even trap members in the corner of the room.
That's terrifying.
It would fully move like mini feet.
That's like scary.
Yeah.
It's like pretty scary.
I could only assume also like weirdly slow as well, to where like it's slowly nudging at you and you can't escape.
Probably a little. I mean, this is also kind of establishes, at least they assume, and I feel like we can probably assume as well, that there are people that Phillip likes better than others.
Yes.
Like when he traps you, that's Phillip saying, hey, I like hanging out. Or with like rushes over, it's like you coming home to a dog or something,
Yeah.
Horrifying.
I mean, maybe that's what they've created, is this rudimentary psychic entity, and all it needed was somebody's belief to hold it up.
Right. Yeah.
An elemental of sorts.
Seems very possible.
Right.
The climax of the experiment was a seance conducted before a live audience of 50 people. The session was also filmed as part of a television documentary. Fortunately, Phillip was not stage shy and performed above expectations. Besides table wrappings, other noises around the room, and making lights blink off and on, the group actually attained a full levitation of the table.
Full They get
It was
a full
only-
lev, Raj.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a half inch, but that's
Still.
4 legs, half an inch in the air. The incredible feat was witnessed by the group and the film crew. Hilariously, they say the dim lighting prevents the levitation from being captured on the film.
I swear it was happening. Just I didn't get my lighting right.
Yeah,
It doesn't work
I
when the
think
camera's on.
I think the film crew was like, yeah, we saw it. It just didn't come through.
This is the time of like film production to where like you kind of had to know how to do your light meter math and shit so your exposure would be right.
Yeah, well, they were using those like low seance lights, so I mean, I'm not sure that the camera would have been crazy grainy no matter what.
Yeah.
The aftermath of the experiment. The Phillip experiment was so successful that the Toronto organization decided to try it again with a completely different group of people and a new fictional character. After just 5 weeks, the new group established contact with their new ghost, Lilith, a French-Canadian spy.
This
Nice.
is wild. I wonder
A
if this,
Quebecois separatist?
I wonder if this research is still happening on some level in some bunker somewhere.
I
where they've,
mean,
like
Oh, it's
I
got
would-
to be.
I would hope so.
where they've made contact with some sort of elemental intelligence.
Let alone just like kids doing it on their own, you know?
Hell yeah.
Other similar
There's a movie.
Other similar experiments conjured up such entities as Sebastian, a medieval alchemist, and even Axel, a man from the future.
Yes! Incredible. Big
All-
fucking Mortal Kombat 7.
Yeah, seriously, right?
Funny.
All
Havoc, a man made out of different fighters.
completely fictional characters, but all of them produced unexplained communication through. Apparently, they all had they have like unique ways of rapping on the table, which is, I mean, it doesn't explain in this particular story how they're different. It just calls them unique.
ghost rappers.
It's kind of bonkers, you know, that like not only did they create it, but like they weren't just the same responses. Like each one had its own unique response, its own personality, like very unique.
Yeah, it seems to be different. Well, check this out. There was a Sydney, Australia group that did a similar test. They called it the Skippy experiment. This one had 6 participants. They created the story of Skippy Cartman, a 14-year-old Australian girl.
Good accent.
It was
good.
pretty bad.
Oh,
The group reports that Skippy communicated with them through raps and scratching sounds.
Cartman, I want a Anzac biscuit. Sorry.
Put another scratch on the scratchy. So yeah, there's different characters apparently manifests in slightly different ways.
Did we create life? Is this a sin against God? Like, does Phillip still exist, I guess? Like,
In the
That's a
words,
good question.
In the words of Steve Urkel, did I do that? That's a good question. I'm fascinated by the idea of like, what if these are just like rudimentary elemental spirits who all they need is like a personality somehow?
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
that's what existing is like
Right.
like a baby is a personality that is born and then is inhabited by a rudimentary spirit.
Yeah, it's like lightning in a bottle, assuming the bottle is, a kite with a key attached to it or whatever,
Yeah. Anyway, I think we just gave birth to a new religion. If you guys want to start a cult, I'm good for it.
I will lead it. Please, everyone, send your wives to Werewolf Radar's P.O. box.
But yeah, that is most of everything you need to know about the Phillip experiment. There's certainly a lot more information out there if you want to find it. You can find that footage. So that there is footage of table dancing and rapping and stuff. But yeah, that is my segment. Build-A-Boo.
I'm here for it.
I was here for it. I've already listened to it. Jordan's listening to it.
But
Let us know what you would name your ghost in the comments.
we already know mine would be Macho Man Randy Savage.
Nice.
Actually, no. Macho Man Sandy Ravage, so that I can... Macho Woman Sandy Ravage,
Nice.
so that I can tell them apart.
And I would name mine the ultimate pacifist, and we could have them fight.
The nice thing about this is, we know that the unique rapping of Sandy Ravage is going to be like a power bomb.
Oh, yeah. It is. And the ultimate pacifist refuses to knock on the table. It's a form of violence.
But he's the most extreme about it.
Well, what he does is he gives you get a little light massage.
The thing is, you try to use violence on the ultimate pacifist, and it just slides right off him. He dodges everything. He refuses to engage in that kind of discourse.
His name's Jim Aikido, the ultimate pacifist.
That's it for another episode of Werewolf Radar, filled with all of your favorite deep cut refs and 3 very spooky and intriguing tales from across the web and beyond. Thank you so much for your continued support of the show. If you are a Dark Council member, we hope you enjoyed this week's Grave Nugget. If you're not a Dark Council member, please come join us. Patreon.com/Werewolf Radar. You too can get an extra episode most weeks and access to merch and all kinds of cool shit on our Patreon page. Please follow us on twitch.com/Werewolf Radar, where we try to play video games and Dungeons and Dragons as often as we possibly can. And tell your friends about the show. Give us 5 stars. We would love to see how far gabbing about ghouls can take us. Until next time, as ever, we love you. You love us. Keep the secrets. Spill the blood. The rhyme I just came up with. Please join us in our sign-off line that we do every week on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Punch
the sky. Spaceman Joe.
Joe.